This is the Asvine C80. It's a large cigar-shaped fountain pen which is made out of turned acrylic. It's available in a wide variety of colors, and today I have it in what is called green glitter. However, in this lighting, it looks a little bit blue in my camera, so I'll overlay some B-roll footage. That way you can see what this looks like in natural lighting. It is a stunning resin that has swirls of black, different shades of green, and a beautiful blue glitter throughout the entire pen. This pen was generously sent to me for review from Asvine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you trusting me with your product and supporting this channel. The top of the cap is rounded, and it's a fairly straight cap down to a chamfered off edge. The cap is free of any brand markings, trim pieces, clips, or roll stops. The cap comes off in 2 turns to reveal a large number 8 size stainless steel nib. In the middle, it notes the tipping size. I have this in a 1.1 stub, but you can also get it in extra fine, fine, or medium. And at the bottom, it reads Asvine. On the back, we can see a large black plastic feed. The grip section starts with a flare-up, and then it has a long taper to threads, which are smooth to the touch. There's then a moderate step up to the barrel, and the barrel is straight to about this location, at which point it starts to taper down to a rounded off edge. In the hand, the pen is well balanced, lightweight thanks to that acrylic construction, and it's a suitable length for both short notes and long writing sessions. I will note, even though the resin appears very highly polished, in the hand it's not perfectly smooth, so you do get some good grip. And the cap posts deeply and securely. It's a lightweight cap, so it doesn't really alter the balance of the pen, but the pen was already quite long, and I find when it's posted, it becomes a little bit unwieldy. In terms of size comparisons, here's the C80, a typical Pilot G2 rollerball pen, and your standard Sharpie. Before we disassemble the C80, I want to take a moment here to compare it with a few other fountain pens. First up, I have another Asvine pen. This is the P20. Unlike the C80, this one uses a piston filler, hence the P in its name, whereas the C80 is a cartridge converter pen. The P20 is also made out of a turned acrylic. Asvine calls this one Gradual Purple. Next, I have another turned acrylic fountain pen. This one is from Narwhal. It's called the Original Plus, and this acrylic was part of a limited release from Gold Spot. It is called Nebulosa Laguna. Unlike the other 2 pens, this one is a vacuum filling fountain pen. Next up, I have a completely clear acrylic pen. This one is the Mahjong P140. It's a large piston filling fountain pen with rounded off finials similar to the C80. And to close things off, I have the Bennu Pixie. I have this one in what's called Twilight Lagoon. Again, it is another turned acrylic pen, and the green at the top of the cap actually has a bit of translucency. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps removed. All caps unscrew, and in the uncapped form, the C80 is the longest pen. The Pixie, I didn't mention, it is a pocket pen, so it's quite diminutive in size. In terms of nibs, they all use stainless steel fully exposed nibs. The P20 and the Narwhal are both number 6 size nibs. The C80 and P140 are both number 8 size nibs, and the Pixie uses a number 5 size nib. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps posted. All caps post securely, and in the posted form, the Narwhal and C80 are about tied in overall length. No tools are required to disassemble the C80, but you might find gripping materials are useful to have. The cap unscrews. And if we take a look inside, we'll see there is no cap liner inside this cap. There's just a step up in the acrylic to seal off the nib. So that's great to see. It's a great use of this material. And in terms of cleaning and maintenance, you just run this under warm water or maybe soak it with some mild detergent if you see really stubborn ink stains. For the rest of the pen, the grip section unscrews from the barrel. And that's it for the barrel. And there we can see the converter that came included in the package, and that can be pulled straight out. If you want to disassemble this converter further, you can unscrew this back sleeve, and that can be pulled out. And then the piston unit pulls straight through the back of this reservoir. You can unscrew these components further if you want, but there's no real need to, so I'm going to leave them in place. And then for the nib and feed in the grip section, you can grab them with your gripping materials and give it a counterclockwise turn. Soon those will come out. And there we can see that they are held inside this nib collar. If I grab them with my gripping materials, I should be able to pull them straight out. But they might be a little bit tight. There we go. And then the nib and feed just separate like that. At this point, the pen is fully disassembled. In order to reassemble, I'm going to start with the converter. We'll slide the piston through the back, and you may have to rotate it a little bit in order to get the ribs lined up properly. We'll then take this sleeve, put it in through the back. There is a step up in that sleeve, which you want facing the reservoir, and then you just simply screw that down. And just like that, the piston is fully functional. Next, let's grab our feed and our nib unit. The feed is keyed to this collar, so in one orientation, it will go a little bit deeper down, right there. And then we're going to want to take the nib and align it to the top. I like personally looking at it from the bottom to make sure that the shoulders of the nib line up with the shoulders of the feed. I'm going to grab my gripping materials to help place this. I'm going to just push it in. You want to try and push it as far back as you can. And that looks just about perfect. We'll go ahead and screw this back into our grip section. Reattach the converter, followed by the barrel. We'll note the threads on this are fantastic. They're very smooth and easy to spin. I put the cap back on, and at this point, we're ready to ink up. Inking up the C80. Today, I selected an ink from Iroshizuku, which is made by Pilot. It's a teal ink, which is called Kujaku. We'll take the cap off the bottle of ink and the pen. We're also going to remove the barrel from the pen. Make sure the piston in the converter is extended all the way down. Place the pen into the ink and then screw up the piston. And to help us get a full fill, I'm going to expel the ink and then draw it up one more time. That looks like a nice full fill. I'm going to wipe off our nib and grip section. We'll cap up the bottle of ink. Put our barrel back on the pen, as well as the cap. And at this point, we're ready to write. Okay, writing with the Asvine C80. Cap unscrews. And today we're writing with a number 8 size stainless steel 1.1 stub. And it is a beautifully tuned nib. It's smooth and wet with excellent consistent ink flow. It's a little bit of a soft nib because it is such a long nib. And the stub tipping material gives you some natural line variation, but I will note that if you tend to rotate your pen a little bit, it may feel a little bit crispy. So if you do tend to rotate your pen and that crispiness might bother you, you may want to consider either getting this in a medium or a fine. In terms of our ink, again, today we have one from Iroshizuku. and it is called Kujaku. In terms of flex, I'm going to start off with no pressure so you can see what kind of natural line variation you'll get from this stub. And then if I add a little bit of pressure, those tines do open up and give you a bit of extra line variation and also a bit of extra ink flow. In terms of reverse writing, actually fairly smooth, much drier. It did have a little bit of trouble crossing that T, but if you want, you could consider reverse writing for a bit of an extra fine line. And also you can push it a little bit further to go a little bit thicker. And naturally, you also get that line variation by altering the direction that you're writing. So, what do I think of the Asvine C80? I love many aspects of this pen. I think it is quite a beautiful pen, and naturally the standout feature is this resin. It's a beautiful resin with swirls of black, different shades of green, and blue glitter throughout. And I love the fact that Asvine decided not to put any trim pieces on this pen to break up that resin. The continuous look of this resin just makes it all the more captivating. I also like that it's a large fountain pen, and yet it's very comfortable and ergonomic in the hand. I have no problem using this for extended writing sessions. And on top of that, it has a fantastically tuned nib with a great writing experience. Again, it's a very consistent ink flow. It's a little bit soft thanks to the extra length of this number 8 size nib. And on top of all of that, it has a stub, and that's very rare to see, especially coming from China. I hope other manufacturers take note of this pen and consider it for future models. But I do see areas for improvement with this pen, and one of them is the stub. I think it would have been nice if Asvine rounded the edges of this nib so that it wasn't quite so crispy and sharp if you tend to rotate your pen at all. And while I just gushed over the resin on this pen, its finish is not perfect. I find that the polish is a little bit rough and it has kind of a matte finish in certain areas. Now that has its benefits and its cons. To me, it does provide you a little bit of extra grip and makes it feel like the pen isn't going to slip out of your hand. But at the same time, as you run your fingers up and down the pen, it makes it not quite feel like a premium product. And then one area where I think Asvine could improve this pen is the converter. There's nothing wrong with it, but you could fit a much larger converter in this body. And I wish that Asvine maybe would have taken a look at the Jinhao 9019, which has a similar size body, and instead of using an off-the-shelf converter, Jinhao decided to go to the trouble to create a jumbo converter that really maximizes the ink capacity that you can get out of such a large product. And then the only other area where I think this pen could really be improved is the lack of a roll stop or a clip. I think a clip would maybe detract from the overall aesthetic of this pen, but it would be nice to see a flat machined into this cap so that the pen didn't just roll away on your desk. But overall, I am a big fan of this pen. Again, it is beautiful, large, and yet very ergonomic. The resin is stunning, and the nib performs beautifully, as does the feed, to create an excellent writing experience. And all of this for under $30 US makes this a fantastic value. And that just leaves me to say, thank you for watching.